Hello everyone out there in the gamer den, my name is TCViper, so glad you could be here for my second gameplay run through. This time I'm actually bringing you HEX Shards of Fate, which is actually a game that is now on the Steam store. It is free to play, which is great. I'm always one that's up for a game that's always free to play, that is, not only high quality, but also does very well in terms of gameplay, graphics, sound, audio design, all of that stuff as well. So that's why I really wanted to feature it here as part of my second gameplay feature that I've actually done here. Today we're actually going to be running through the Frost Ring Arena, which is a really good way to actually earn and unlock new cards and currency and that kind of stuff as well. For those of you who are not familiar with HEX Shards of Fate, basically what it is, it's a game that's very similar to and harkens back to collectible card games such as Magic the Gathering or Pokemon or any of those types of games as well. So if you were a fan of those when you were younger or even still are now, then I definitely think you should check out HEX Shards of Fate on Steam. Like I said, it is free to play, so it's definitely one that I think, again, because of the quality of both the graphics, the audio, the features that it actually includes in it, really brings something new to the table. For example, one thing here is the campaign. The campaign itself, as you can see, I've actually started one myself. I have a level 7 Orc Warrior here. And it's a solo campaign that brings you through. You start off with a starter deck, and as you play and progress, you actually unlock new cards and that kind of stuff as well. So it's great. It's a lot of fun, and they actually have only started the very first adventure zone. This game is still, I guess, what you could consider early access, even though really what that really means is that they're just continuing to add more and more onto it. But this game does have a lot of polish, even that being said. So I know some people are turned off by early access games just because, and especially if they're in the free-to-play range, just because they know that, there's a lot of times there's a lot of bugs and issues and whatever else. But to be honest, this is one of those few games that I actually believe that doesn't really fall into the category with the rest of them. So if you have any interest in this type of a game, definitely, by all means, check it out. So here I'm going to go back to the main screen here. And before we get into the Frost Ring Arena, I also want to talk about the tournaments as well. This is one of their newest features, which is also why I waited a little bit longer to bring this to the Gamer Den and talk about it. I have actually posted a couple things about it because I definitely think this is a game that people should check out. And this is one of the newest features. So you can actually play in ranked, unranked, all sorts of different types of tournaments that they actually have here. They have standard, specialized, ones for sealed decks, competitive draft decks, that kind of stuff. Ones that you've completed here, that kind of stuff as well. There's even an auction house too, so you can actually sell cards that you have. All of the cards that you have, you unlock individually. So that being said, just like if you went to a store and bought a pack of, Magic the Gathering card trading game, if you only have one card, you only have that one physical card. So you can sell it, you can trade it, whatever. A lot of times with these games, once you unlock a card, you unlock it and you can use as many times as you want to fill out a deck. Not true in this game, so it's a little bit different. So I definitely think everyone should check it out because it allows you to buy, you can buy and sell cards, you can trade cards as well with your friends. I've actually had my friend Scott, who introduced me to this game. He actually helped me out. He's been playing for a lot longer than I have, and he even sent me a few cards through the mail system. As you can see here, he's actually sent me some cards, and today we're actually going to be playing with an Orc deck that I have I found online through another website, that you can actually, people can talk about deck building strategies, that kind of stuff. There's actually quite a bit of a tight-knit community that is involved and around this game. So there's a lot of support, a lot of different things out there, a lot of people talking about it as well. So it's growing a lot, but I really think, like I said, it doesn't quite yet the attention that it really deserves. It's a great game. I really enjoy it. So before we get into actually playing the Frostring Arena, I know I'm talking a lot here, but I just really want people to understand what this game is if you've never played it before. And so this here is my collection that I'm showing to you now. Shards here would be considered like your mana cards in Magic the Gathering, and I'm going to call back to Magic the Gathering a lot because when I grew up, that's what I played. I played Magic the Gathering. I didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon or any of that kind of stuff. Me and my group of friends that I was with, we didn't really play that. So, that being said, so I'm going to try and relate in those terms. So excuse me if you didn't play Magic the Gathering, but you could probably follow along if you ever played any of the other types of card games. So there's 5 different colors, very similar again to Magic. So instead of black, they have blood, which is a purple, essentially. You have diamond, which are white, ruby red, blue is your sapphire, and then green is wild. So those are your 5 different types of mana that you're going to see throughout the game, which will allow you to then summon characters and that kind of stuff as well. As you go through here, you can actually see all the cards that I have actually collected just in the time of playing here. And a lot of these are just ones that either I've traded for online, or my friends have given to me, or traded with me, that kind of stuff. So, you know, I mean, it's not a grand collection. I mean, 1,600 cards, but you know, there's a lot more cards in this game. And also there's now something else called equipment, because as you can see, this guy Sir Giles Rowan over here that's on the right hand side. So instead of like Magic the Gathering or some of these other ones where everybody starts out with the same abilities, same different types of life amount, that kind of stuff as well, this one actually has different characters that you play as, and each one of them, as you can see, such as a Shinhair Warlock, or a Necrotic Ranger, or an Orc Mage, or something like that, each one of those actually gives you a different ability, or gives you different sets. So as you can see down here, you can actually see the combination of colors that works best for each of these characters. Do you have to play a deck with those characters? No. But they are more finely tuned to those colors. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind when building your deck, because it's going to play off of their abilities. So for example, like I have my guy over here that I'm going to run through the Frost Ring with you guys here. So as you can see, Sir Giles Rowan, he has 21 health. And he does a solo red as well, which is actually what I'm playing as here as well. And he's a human warrior. So his abilities here, now that you can see, is that at any time during a match, I can take 4 mana, as you can see down here. It has to be 4 red. That's what's in this little white box here, and it's red. A target troop that I control, and all of your troops in zones that share a trait with it, get +1 attack and +0 on defense. So that there just kind of shows you. Whereas if we go to someone else here, let's see here, Shinhair, right? So he can take any 3 blood as part of his mana, and he can sacrifice a troop, and another troop that he already has gets +2 on attack and +2 on defense. So you can really use their abilities to try and, you know, make a deck around their abilities to really give you the best advantage overall. So Sir Giles Rowan is the character that I'm going with. He has 21 life, and down here, based off of the deck that I have, as you play through the campaign, you can unlock different equipment to acquire and then use and add onto his other abilities. So for example, my Lightning Medallion here, it's a slot, and it's for the Trinket slot. So any of my Arena Brawlers that I have, which is a card down here at the very bottom, while they control another Orc, any of my Arena Brawlers will automatically have speed. Automatically, and it's just because they have that medallion on there. If he didn't have that medallion on there, they wouldn't have speed, which is a great thing. Speed, which we'll get into a little bit later. And then Brutal Scimitar, I'm guessing is how you pronounce it, I'm not really sure. But that's in the weapon slot. So your Ember Brutes instead have, when this enter plays, if you control a troop that shares a trait with you, this gets +2/+2. So he gets +2/+2 just for having a card that shares a trait with the Ember Brute. And here's the card of the Ember Brute here. So he is an elemental, and he has a 3/3, and it costs 4. So it costs 4 mana, and it requires 1 mana, or 1 red in order to get that out. And then you can see its card, or you can see the troop type here, and then this one here shows by the rarity of the card. And then it also shows which actual set that it belongs to. So, and he's in the first set. He was one of the original cards to come out for the game. And then it talks about Crush as well. That is its special ability. And then it goes on and talks about exactly what we just said because of this Brutal Scimitar. So, what this game really allows for is it allows for you to have a lot of variety, a lot of differences in this game. So there's so many ways that you can take cards that in any other game would just be a standard card, and you know, whatever it says on that card is all you have to go off of. In this game, you can now alter those cards and you can add things to them. And one really good example of that, and I'm going to try and find one here. This here is my Gem Craze Berserker. Now I have 3 of them in this deck, as you can see, and they all have gem sockets. Now, unlike traditional card games, you can't add something to a card that you already have, right? It is just whatever it is. In this game, you can actually add a gem onto it. So it has a socket here. And what this one does is it allows me to add extra abilities on top of this card that it may not normally have. So for example, if I was running a blood/ruby deck, which is the blood is the purple and red is the ruby, I could have it so that this card now has Minor Blood Orb of Deception, and I could sacrifice 2 purple mana, and when this troop becomes blocked by a troop, that troop gets -1/-1. Now, because I'm not running it as that, I'm actually running this deck. It's an all ruby deck. There are no other mana colors in this one. So I have it set up so that this card automatically gets speed in no matter what zone it's in. Okay, and what that basically means is speed translates to this can attack and use powers on the same turn that it enters plays. So for those of you back to the HEX, back to the Magic the Gathering gameplay, it's haste. Speed and haste are the exact same thing. So, and each one of these can have their own gem. So every different gem berserker could have a totally different one. I don't know if I have anybody else currently who has any gems on them. I think there is one more. Does Telika have one? No, he doesn't have one either. Zoltag maybe? No? Okay. But yeah, so here we go. Zokoi, High Cleric. He's got one. He actually has 2 slots that he can do. And as you can see, they're listed down here as well. And so I have speed in all zones, which is great because you want to be able to attack on the first turn that it goes out. But then he also has Major Ruby of Destruction, and when this enter plays, it deals damage equal to its attack number, which is this one here, to target opposing champion. So just for this card going out on the field of battle, it's going to automatically do 4 damage every single time, which is great. I love it. It's an awesome, awesome card. And you know what? There's been many games where I've won where the guy only has 3 hit points left, and all I have to do is play Zokoi, and before any other actions take place, as soon as I pass control onto the defender, he automatically takes 4 hit points. So there's been many games just by playing the card. Automatically it's a win. It's a great, great card. It's a great ability to have as well. So let me go through my deck here really, really quick before I go any further. So I have 22 Ruby Shards. That's, again, my mana. I have 3 of our Savage Raiders, who basically, it's a very simple card. It only costs 1 mana, and it takes at least 1 red card to be out. and he must attack every turn. Doesn't matter, he has to attack. He does have 2 attack, and he has 1 on the defense. So it's an okay card, but you can play him very early in the game. So if you have one of them out, by the second round, you're already dealing damage. And that's what I've kind of this deck actually is designed for. It's designed to get characters out, or creatures out, as quickly as possible, and start dealing damage as quick as we can. So because a lot of times in this game, that decks that take longer and longer to actually get characters out or get creatures out, that's what takes a long time, is to get these guys out and start dealing damage. So if I can get out and start dealing damage before you even have guys set, that's what I'm all about, right? So what you're going to see here too, I also have 3 Brutal Commanders. Again, takes 2 thresholds of red, so you got to have at least 2 red cards out, and it takes a minimum of 3 just to play the card, right? He also has Rage 1. Now this deck is known as a Rage deck. So Rage basically multiplies the attack amount based off of how much rage is available. So this one gets plus X plus 0 on the defense. So if I have multiple cards out there with rage included on them, it'll add each one of those rage onto his attack. So the more and more of these guys I have out there, the harder and harder they hit every single time, which is awesome. Next thing I have is Bloodlust. As well, and I have its when you see the card has a full on here, it's actually the extended art as well. But basically what this one does, it's a constant card, and it basically gives any orcs that I put out, as long as they're an orc, they automatically get speed just for playing as well. So very, very cool. Helps get that damage out right away. And here's the Ember Brute, which we already went over. Zoikoi as well. I got one of each of those. 2 Arena Brawlers. Again, I have unlocked the extended artwork for that. And he's just a basic troop. No real special abilities, but he does have 3 attack, which is great, and then 1 damage. So he's a relatively cheap, quick attacker as well, and I do have 2 of those in my deck. Burn. This is a quick action, and I can't remember what they referred to these in Magic the Gathering as, but basically what it does is it allows you to deal 2 damage instantly to the target champion or a troop. So I can either wipe out a troop right away, or if I want to, I can just defer that damage onto the actual other enemy as well. Crimson Clarity. It's another quick action type, but what this does is by playing this card, it actually gives me an extra mana. So let's say it's only the 2nd turn, and I only have guys who require a minimum of 3 mana in order to play. I can play this card instead, and it will give me an extra mana instead. So if I only have 2, I can spend both of these, and all of a sudden now I will have 3 mana that I can go spend, and maybe even play this on turn 2, and get a guy who normally wouldn't be able to play for another 2 or 3 turns. I can get them out way earlier, which is great. So again, it's all about getting guys out on the board as quick as possible, as fast as possible. I also have 2 Furious Taskmasters here as well. In this deck, target orc you control gets speed this turn. He's a 2/2, and then 3 of the gem Crazed Berserkers there as well. I have 1 Gore Seeker, I should say, in this. Now what he has, again, here's the Rage showing up again, but Swift Strike. And I can't remember the names of this stuff for Magic the Gathering. It's been so long since I played. But what it does is this deals combat damage before the non-Swift Strike troops. So what that means is that if I play him out, and another one tries to block me, basically he gets to deal any damage before the defender can damage him. So normally when a troop attacks and an enemy troop blocks at the same time, the damage and the defense happen at the exact same time. So if he's attacking someone who does at least 2 damage, and the defender with 2 damage attacks him, he's only got a defense rating of 2, so he's going to die in that sense. But because he has Swift Strike, it means that if he does 3 damage and the other guy only has 2 defense, if he's a 2/2, this guy's going to kill him before the other guy can even put that 2 points of damage on him. So he will stay alive while the other guy dies, which is a great ability to have. Love to have Swift Strike. And which leads me into the Ruby Aura quick action, which a target troop gets +1/+0 and gains Swift Strike. So now I can actually add that Swift Strike ability onto my other troops as well, and they get an extra attack amount as well, which is awesome. Ruby Lance, another quick action as well. I can deal 1 damage to any target troop for each red mana that I have. So if I have 3, 4, 5 mana, I can, and there's a guy who comes out and he's 3 or 4 on the defense side, I can throw a Ruby Lance at him. Next thing you know, boom, there he is. He's dead before he even got to do anything. Also have Teleka. He's an Orc Gladiator as well. He takes 5. He's a Troop Orc Warrior as well, and he's a 4/4. Very, very, very good as well. It's a little expensive, but what he does really well is he battles target opposing troops, and when that troop dies this turn, if Teleka is in play, you transform her into a High Cleric, which is basically an even better version of this card. Veteran Gladiator. This is probably my favorite card in this whole entire deck, and I really should probably even add another Veteran Gladiator to this deck as well, now that I've kind of gone through this deck. It has to attack again every turn, but it is a 3/2, and when it attacks, the target opposing troop can't block this turn. So when I say this Veteran Gladiator is going to attack, then what happens is that means that then he also gets to choose one of the opponent's troops, and they can't defend this turn. So a lot of times when they are trying to figure out who to actually defend this character, a lot of times you can't, because the Gladiator will say, nope, that guy can't defend this turn. So it just limits it. It enables board control is a big part of this game is board control. Zoltalg as well. This guy is amazing. He's a unique character as well. He's got one of the highest ratings for rarity as well, I believe, is red. And also, when an Orc True you control deals damage to a champion, I get to automatically create a Savage Raider and put it into play. So if Zoltalg is out on the field, if another Orc troop, which as you've seen are most of my characters, deals damage to the actual champion, every time we deal damage, then Zoltalg creates another Savage Raider and puts it into play, which as we saw over here, here's our Savage Raider again, so it automatically gives us one of these for free every single time. So you can create a lot of damage really quick, really fast, which is exactly what we're looking for. Arena Regular, when you gain a charge, this deals 1 damage to each opponent, which is awesome. Do have 4 of them in this deck as well. And then last but not least, we have our Crackling Bolt, which is very similar to the Ruby Lance, but this one though instead deals 3 damage to a target champion or troop, and we get to gain a charge. And then I will explain to you a little bit more about what charges are here now after this. So, without further ado, let's get into the Frostring Arena now that we know the deck that we're actually playing with.